Tainted Grail, Fall of Avalon, the game where Avalon is almost in an apocalyptic state, everything is cursed, and yet somehow I'm still hoarding 127 potions I might need later. Let's start with the positives, and there are a lot of them. First off, the exploration. This game scratches that classic RPG itch where you wander into a cave that definitely looks like a death trap, and boom! You're rewarded with XP, shiny loot, and probably a vague sense of regret. There's a lot to explore, dungeons, creepy forests, abandoned settlements, and enough secrets to make me think that devs genuinely enjoy watching us second guess every tree stump. And yes, I'm still convinced one of them leads to Camelot, but more on that sore point later. The atmosphere is gloomy, eerie, and just cozy enough that I didn't uninstall it during a thunderstorm. It's brilliant, I love it. Choices in the story give you that delicious illusion of control. Do I betray this faction or that one? Do I ignore a personified queen bee or give her weird webs that totally won't be used for an attempt at world domination of some sort? The skill trees are deep with real build diversity. Do you want to be a sneaky rogue with fireballs and heavy armor? Sure. Will it work? Possibly. Should you do it? Probably not. But you can, and that's the point. You've got the freedom to make that sort of build. The armor and weight systems matter a bit more now since a recent update after some balance changes. And the stash system is great since you can craft and sell directly from it. My inner loot goblin rejoices at that. Also, credit where it's due, the game now, after the aforementioned update, lets you keep playing after the end. You've got the choice. Now we're going to talk about the Act 3 experience, because if you're watching my video, chances are you've read or watched other videos about the game. And so yes, I've got my own things to say about Act 3. So you know that feeling when you walk into a party late and everyone's already left? That's kind of how Act 3 felt to me. Almost all the quests just became, hey stranger, can you go kill this thing for me? On repeat. Now some of the quests are more in depth than that. But when it boils down to what you have to do, that was pretty much what it came to. And it just so happened that 4 different NPCs and 4 different settlements all had a problem that only you could solve. It started to become a bit too unbelievable, and as you walk around Act 3 it's just kind of bare and empty. The other 2 acts had few NPCs out in the wild. Act 3 was really few and far between. And don't get me started on the settlements. I mean, imagine a village populated by 3 people and one of them's a quest marker. The rest are probably off in Camelot. You know, that mythical city everyone talks about, and we never ever get to see it. Spell it with a K. Give it all this lore and then don't let me visit? That's just a little bit rude. We were never promised to go and visit, actually. I know the developers did actually say, you know, that we won't be able to visit in the game, but I still think that's a disappointment. Some of the quests are bugged. I'm not saying it broke immersion, but when 2 of 4 of your dialogue options are literally blank, that's what some might call avant-garde storytelling. On to the combat, it's surprisingly fun. A bit simple in a way, but I enjoyed shooting fire at things over and over. Builds can feel unique, and there's enough item variety to drown in enchantments. There's so many different possibilities for equipment. That is a good thing. Kind of on the downside is a lot of the new equipment actually is outshone by equipment you've already found. And so by Act 3, I think I'd found most of what I needed and wanted. So by that point, all the loot I was getting from all the chests and stuff was kind of just not that interesting. And the hidden chests ended up just having like 70 gold and a carrot or something. Which sure, in Act 1, that's good, you need that sort of stuff. But by Act 3, it's just, well, what was the point? This is a waste of my time. By the middle of Act 2, I'd stopped using food and potions entirely. The bosses just gave up. I think one of them tripped and died before the fight actually started. But on a more serious note, about halfway through Act 2 I really did stop using food and potions and almost any consumables, and not because of the classic, oh I'm gonna hoard it because I might need it later, but really it's because I simply stopped needing to use them. I was playing on the kind of the middle difficulty, I forgot what that's called now. It wasn't easy, it wasn't hard, but by the middle of Act 2 I was just blasting through everything. And now, that sounds fun, it's kind of fun, and as a mage, I had all of my core spells early, and then, you know, in Act 3, you're like, oh wow, cool new fire spell was like, hey, I look neat and deliver damage in a different way, but I don't do more damage than the fire spell you've been using since the end of Act 1, so what do? I continue using the same spell. Crafting also fell off for me by the end, kind of was not using it. Some of that might have been because I was a mage. I didn't really find much mage equipment to make. I was still upgrading stuff and still like reducing weight on stuff just to keep my armor class, or you know, my class of armor in the light section. But by Act 3 I was only crafting. When I say crafting, I'm talking about alchemy and cooking. My actual crafting skill was at 100 by that point. Thank you, weird bones. So yeah, by Act 3 I was only crafting for experience, So my stash looked like some sort of medieval version of a neglected fridge. Loads of ingredients, nothing worth cooking. And then there was like enemy scaling, so some enemies in Act 1 just got stronger in Act 2 or 3 for no reason. Like, ooh, I'm not like the other corpse eaters, I have 40% more health now because... reasons? I don't know. Lore? Who knows? Like, the undead appear in all 3 acts and they get stronger and stronger with no real reason given as far as I'm aware. Perhaps I didn't read enough books or something. And that's just kind of just a little bit disappointing. When I get it, we need to have stronger enemies. That's kind of, you know, as you go through a game, you get stronger and you can overcome greater challenges, greater enemies. I get that, I enjoy that. But when I'm facing the same enemies again and again, it does get a little bit repetitive. That's not to say there are no new enemies in Act 2 or 3 or anything. It's just we do see the appearance of old enemies that are just stronger for, yeah, I don't know, lore reasons? Who knows? Now, despite everything negative I've said throughout the video, the bugs, some of the barren settlements, and the do more damage but don't ask why enemies, I had fun. I really had fun. And to me, that's what matters the most. The game would most likely have benefited greatly from more development time. However, this was made by a AA studio who, for all we know, had to release now or face some sort of financial doom. Who knows? Sadly, we don't live in an ideal world, and unfortunately this means we still get unfinished games to this day, which is disheartening. I don't know if it's business reasons or management reasons or staffing reasons, I don't know. But there must be a reason why they decided to release just a couple of weeks ago. I really hope that they chose to release now and not in, let's say, 6 months for very good reasons. Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon has a rich, haunting world with compelling lore and an atmosphere that kept me hooked. I kept playing, I kept exploring, and most importantly, I kept wanting to play until Act 3 gently but firmly kind of made me want to rush to the end, which is what I did in the end. So if you're into immersive dark fantasy RPGs with a few rough edges, this one is more than worth your time in my casual opinion. Thank you for watching and to all the members of my channel, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.